At that point, I should have just stopped reading. The next book that I attempted to read, y'all, I really had like a really, really horrible week. What? What is this? Rachel, what is this? What are you writing? Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Eliza at Eliza's Reading. So if you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. So this video hopefully will be a relatively short video. So I actually want to let y'all know that I finally finished Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I want someone to talk to this about. So that's the reason for this video, and it's also really like my recap or my weekend wrap-up video of what I actually read and did not read this week and what I DNF'd. So I really want to start off with this book. So as you see, you probably can't see because literally I think I stopped tabbing at like chapter 50. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this book, it's really about two swimmers. One swimmer named Scarlet, and then one swimmer named is Lucas. Scarlet is coming back on the swim team from an injury, and Lucas is a swim captain. So they end up developing this plan, and they end up just hooking up. So now I am going to give you 60 seconds. If you have not read this book, I'm going to give you 60 seconds to scroll by, because in order for me to explain what I want to explain, there has to contain a spoiler. Because if I do not give you the spoiler a little bit, you will not understand the dynamics of how they end up hooking up. So Scarlet is actually friends with a girl named Penelope, whom is in a relationship with Lucas, or was in a relationship with Lucas. However, Penelope decides to break up with Lucas, and then one day they're at this party, she's under the influence, and she's like, hey, I think it would be really cool if you two hook up. At that point, I should have just stopped reading, because I knew it was gonna be some mess. I knew it was going to be some mess, because number one, you don't hook up with your friends. You don't hook up with someone your friend has been with, and they're calling each other best friends. That's the spoiler. Okay, so now when Scarlet and Lucas decide to hook up, he basically has written down some things that he would like to see within their sexual relationship. So basically, at the beginning, initially, they're not hooking up to be in a relationship. They're basically just hooking up for like the sexual benefits of hooking up. So he is into BDSM, and actually they both are. This is actually what prompted Penelope to say, hey, you know what? Y'all like the same things. Y'all should just like hook up. So they're both into like BDSM. So they have both written down things that they would like for each other to do inside of this situationship. However, one of the things that was never revealed that they had written down was what they wrote. So it's like they written things down that they like to do in like those intimate moments, but I don't think that Ali Hazelwood ever identified what those things are. So basically, now I'm going to get to like the character development. So the one thing that I did not like about the book, and I'm not saying y'all it's a bad book, so don't be like trying to come for me in the comments. Y'all know how some of y'all can get. But one thing that I did not like about the character in the book is that he was emotionally manipulative. So one thing that he would do in the moment, but even when they were like sexually involved, or even when they would be out in public, is he would basically tell her how she's feeling without allowing her to verbalize like her own feelings. So it's almost like coaching. So if you work in like mental health, or if you're like a counselor, one of the things that they like teach you is that when it comes to little children and having little children like verbalize like their thoughts and feelings, or even if there has been some type of abuse, you never coach children. And I felt like Lucas would coach her on like how she felt that she could never verbalize. So he's telling her, you feel this, you feel that, and she's like, yes, almost as if she has no voice. In addition, he assumes the role of the emotional authority over her, as where it really took away her voice and her being able to verbalize, like, these are my feelings. In addition, I felt like there was no emotional reciprocity, because it basically was like a power imbalance where Scarlet never really verbalized in this book, like, these are my feelings and these are things that I want. This is what I want to happen. It was more so of what Lucas wanted. And I was literally like, what is going on right now? I'm like, I know this book is not supposed to be this deep, but I'm literally like annotating in my mind, because I hate writing in my books unless it's like James Baldwin. But I'm literally annotating in my mind like all these mental health things or all these trauma responses that I see from Scarlet. So I'm literally trying to like keep up with all these toxic emotional issues that I see is going on, like these power imbalances that is going on between their like friends with benefits type of relationship that they're actually having. But within the book, Scarlet is actually constantly adjusting to like just not the needs of Lucas, but the needs of other people, her coach, her friends, her teammates, her, you know, even when it comes to like her father when she was a child. It's really like Scarlet has no voice in this book at all. And it really just reminds me, it puts me in like the time now where women have no voice. It's almost like we don't have control over our bodies, our procedures. It's almost like the world is taking away our voice due to patriarchy and men deciding what women need and when we need to do things and when we don't need to do things. And I think that is something that I did not like about his character in the book. I really felt it was very toxic and problematic. His character inside of the bedroom was also very authoritarianistic, where he does not take well to opposition, even if he's in the bedroom or outside of the bedroom. And he literally would talk to Scarlet almost as if she was a child. And I'm like, what? I don't know, like his character, y'all, literally disturbed me. And I wanted to stop reading, but I really wanted to see if Scarlet would find her voice and she would really break out of that trauma induced spell that she's been in since she was a child. So now let me get on Scarlet a little bit. So Scarlet's historical background is basically an abusive one. So she comes from an abusive home with an abusive father, which I kind of like picked that up already. So in the book, Scarlet is literally telling Lucas that he could call her names. Okay. Like he literally was. And I understand, like, when you're into like BDSM, like those things are appropriate at the time, but there was nothing BDSM about this. This did not give me 50 Shades of Grey. It was pretty much like a romance novel with a narcissistic, authoritarianistic type of relationship within the book. Even though they were both saying, okay, like this is the type of, I guess, this is the type of sexual like lifestyle I'm into, it didn't give anything like it didn't give any inclination that this was some type of 50 Shades of Grey at all. There was no tying up, no rope tying, no neck choking. It was literally like none of that. So with that being verbalized, due to Scarlett's childhood trauma, she really is submissive and she has no boundaries. She has no boundaries with Lucas. She has no boundaries with her friends. The only time she ever showed restraint and boundaries, and when she was able to safely verbalize her thoughts and feelings safely, was in a clinical setting. And that was with her therapist. But the things that the therapist, I feel like, was working on with her did not go deep enough into like her childhood trauma. She pretty much was working on like her managing her anxiety and her emotions surrounding like her diving injury. And really I feel like the swimming aspect of the book was just put in the book to give the book like extra meat. But really, I kind of felt like the book really was about Lucas. It really wasn't about Scarlet. It really had nothing to do with her. It had everything to do with him and what he wanted. Because I never saw in the book her list. Like, or if you've read this book, you can let me know in the comments if the author, maybe I missed it, if the author ever identified what was on Scarlett's list of things that she liked sexually. Like, it never revealed anything. I think the only condition that I ever heard Lucas say was if you don't want me to do something, or if something hurts, or their like keyword was like stop. Y'all, I'm literally just like, Scarlet was taken advantage of so much. She even identified in the book like, he's treating me like a toy. So if you're identifying like he's treating you like a toy, then why are you allowing him to treat you this way? And it's, y'all, when I tell y'all, I literally just had I'm telling y'all, I had so many thoughts about this book. And it really just bothered me how, as a woman, I'm seeing another woman used, but because she's used to being submissive and subservient, that she's not able to create boundaries where other people do not take advantage of her. Y'all, oh my gosh. So I don't even know what to rate this book. I really don't. I don't know what to rate this book because the writing was immaculate. Now, the writing was immaculate. The romance scenes were spicy. I absolutely loved them. They were very vivid. The details were great. Like, the book was written very, very well. But I just did not like the undertone of the patriarchal behavior from the MMC. Like, his character really disturbed me, for real. And I really did not see Scarlet create a boundary until Penelope kind of like went off on her. And then she didn't say anything at the time. She waited for like weeks. And then she's like, well, maybe I'll just write her email instead of like physically confronting her. So it's oh my goodness. It's like, I really wish that I could have saw Scarlett's character really develop, which I did not see. And that, I think that's what made me kind of like, I don't really know if I like the book. It's like the writing style is amazing. Like, Allie Hazel was a great writer, but I didn't like the characters. I really didn't like the characters. I just wanted to see some growth. I wanted to see Scarlet create boundaries. And I wanted to hear her tell him, this is what I want. I just, like, he was so controlling, y'all. And I just think that turned me off just from the character. But I kept reading because I was invested to see if she would at least create some boundaries. You know, I think I was disappointed in, like, her. Like, I think I was. However, I really don't know, like, what to rate this. I don't. And then another thing, we have got to stop using these C words. And we're old enough to know what those C words are for men and women. I think those 2 words literally disgusted me the whole book. I was literally disgusted the whole book, y'all. I was like, why do you keep saying cunt and cock? Like, what? I'm like, I literally was, y'all, I literally was like, my face was like scrunched up the entire time. I'm just like, stop saying those words. We've got to come to a consensus of, like, a universal word in the book world for that, because you got to stop using those 2 C words. That's all I got to say. Now, the next book that I read or attempted to read was They All Fall Down by Rachel Housel Hall. Y'all, what is this? Rachel, what is this? What are you writing? Y'all, I've read 2 books from her so far, and those were in, like, my previous vlogs from last month. I can link those below. So Fog and Fury was a really great, amazing, like, detective novel, which is a duology to Mist and Malice that's actually coming out next year in November. That one was amazing. I felt like her writing was very cohesive. Like, the premise literally was cohesive with all the details in the book. I love seeing the characters develop. Y'all know I love strong characters, strong plot. Okay, so I tried to read We Lie Here. I finished, but that book was really dysfunctional. It was nothing mysterious about that. And it really was dramatic, and it was just very messy. And the whole time, the book really was rambling. It was just rambling about senseless things that had nothing to do with anything. So, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm going, you know, I got these books from the library. So I said, you know, after this one, I'm going to read They All Fall Down because the premise seems really good. So this particular one is about I think she's like 45. Her name is Miriam. She ends up going to this deserted island thinking that she was going to, like, be on this TV show. So it was her and, like, 6 other strangers, and then they all started being picked off one by one. Y'all, it was literally so much going on in the first, like, I got to page 60. So let me see what chapter. Okay, it was chapter 6. So I got to chapter 6. I read 60 pages. So it literally starts off with, like, her daughter telling her, you know, like, I hate you. So it's really like something else going on besides her being sent to this island under false pretenses to be in a show. So her daughter is telling her, I hate you, you're the worst ever. And then she was married before, so the now new wife is, like, writing letters to her or texting her saying you need to move on, he doesn't want you anymore. So it's like 2 different problems going on at the same time, which as the reader we have no idea what's going on. So it's like Rachel has ideas in her head, but as for the reader, she's not able to articulate well enough in this book, like, what is actually going on. So it's like every chapter, it's like she's dropping hints of something that has happened like a year ago or 2 years ago with her daughter. I'm like, what? Like, it's literally like the author is basically, I felt like it's fluff, basically. It's like a whole bunch of fluff that's not making sense. And then it has literally taken them 60 pages to get on this island. Why has it taken 6 chapters to get on the island? Y'all, I really want to like her books, but I can see now, like, her books are not going to be an auto by author for me, because her books are literally hit or miss. Y'all, I could not get past another chapter because it was literally just fluff. And I'm like, okay, you're on this island. Okay. So now, the next book that I attempted to read, y'all, I really had like a really, really horrible week. And I just expected to read so many more books. Usually, y'all, I can read about 4 books in a week. So I can literally read 1 book every 2 days. So that's about 3-4 books a week. And literally, I read 1 book. So the next book I tried to read was A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This story is about a girl. When she was younger, her father ended up allegedly killing like 16 girls. So now that she's older, she's become I think a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And she is dealing with some mental health. She's getting ready to get married. And all of a sudden, like, her world is turned upside down when these other girls go missing. So it's basically like her past is like recircling. One thing I didn't like about the book, I literally got to chapter 15 and I literally had to DNF this book because, number one, I don't love books, or I'm not particularly fond of books that have like monologues. I love interaction. I love dialogue within books. And this book was literally a lot of interpersonal conversation. So basically it was like a monologue. And it did give us like the historical information of like what happened to her father. So of course it was kind of like dual timeline, so that we can get an understanding of how her father ended up being accused of like these girls' murders back then. But then I kind of felt like the plot was dragging. So we're like in chapter 15, and it's really just like one person's point of view. And I really don't too much like when books are just one person's point of view. Y'all, I was like suffering so bad because of the monologue. It's like, it's like just telling a story. And I'm like, get on with it. We're in chapter 15 and I'm very impatient. So it just wasn't fast paced enough. The story is very slow. It's giving Columbo vibes in slow motion. And I just could not hang with I could not hang with the pace of the book. The book is very slow for me. It is definitely a slow burn. I don't like those. So then I switched to the audio because I was reading the ebook. So then I went on Hoopla because y'all know I like listening to audiobooks while I'm at work. So then I went to Hoopla and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, let me listen to the audiobook. They have it on here. I can go ahead and, download it. So I download the audiobook. I listened to it, and literally that made the situation a whole lot worse. So I immediately was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop on 15 and I'm just going to have to DNF this. because it's not interesting. And it wasn't interesting. It wasn't entertaining. It was very boring. And I don't like mysteries like that. So that book was definitely not for me. I did love the premise of the book because I was really interested to see like if she would get married, if like her past would really come to haunt her. I was really invested. I really was. And I really was into her character because I could resonate with her character, with her anxiety, because I have anxiety. So of course there were some events that, you know, took place in the book that I could resonate with, but that book was just too slow, y'all. That book was just not for me. That's just, I have another one of her books that I'm going to try to read. And if that particular book is just as slow as this one, I'm not reading anything from her ever again. You can just count that out. So those were the 3 books that I tried to read. And y'all know that I was going to read The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which is like science fiction. I think it's like science fiction with a subgenre of fantasy. So I was going to try to read that. I ended up not getting to it because it took me so long, y'all, to read Deep End. Like, it took me 6 days. Like, who takes 6 days to read a 400-page book? That is ridiculous. But it's okay. But anyway, so to be honest with y'all, I recorded this video anyway, even though I didn't feel like my reading week was really productive. I still just wanted to recap y'all to let y'all know where I was for the week. So let me know if you have read any of those books. Did you DNF them? What was your rating? What did you get from this video? Let's have a dialogue about this Deep End book if you have read it. So let's have some dialogue about Deep End. To be honest with y'all, I really should have DNF'd it at like chapter 4, but I was interested. I was invested, but that book just, I have not given it a rating yet because it really didn't sit right with me. But anyway, if you like my channel, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave a book emoji in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.